mean, it's the thing that's interesting to me is like LiDAR is one of the categories or some of the technology that can be leveraged. And I don't know how far back a LiDAR goes, but now in your iPhones, you have LiDAR in your iPhone. So that is now going to be something that is going to be more and more useful. And there's going to be more and more use cases for that. So it's interesting how far ahead you all are, because you're just interested in, we just want to do the research. We have our use cases, and then we just turn it over to the business world.
See if you can pull up the handheld spectrometer by searching in the search field. Imagine if you had a spectrometer in your iPhone. Handheld spectrometer. And the reason I'm picking that one is it's very far developed, more so than many of our technologies, which are, a design never prototyped. So the handheld spectrometer.
Thank whoever did the search on that I did not have to use another word other than handheld.
All right, great. Sometimes it works that way. We try to be out there figuring out what you're going to ask in the future, but we don't always succeed. So I'm going to go ahead and fess up. I'm a mushroom hunter, and it would be really cool if I had a spectrometer that I could pick a mushroom and point at, and it could tell me if there was amatoxin in it, assuming I can't identify it properly. Or maybe, there's always a degree of doubt when you identify things, but that's just, or how about you change your oil and you do a spectral analysis and it says there's a lot of bronze in there. Maybe you got some bearings wearing prematurely. That sort of thing. We don't really think about doing that at the house. Honey, where's the spectrometer? It's in the junk drawer. Oh, okay. And then I just needed to see what kind of oil this was. Or I got some paste out of the shed. I don't know what it is. It could be really a wonderful thing if it could be productized for the consumer.
Okay, so I've been using this thing called MyFitnessPal recently, and one of the settings on it is if you put your camera to a certain food, it's supposed to be able to pull it and say, this is this is that. We think this is ground beef, we think this is ground turkey. I'm not saying they're the same thing, but it is interesting how you could find use cases like that. Is there, in this specific thing, how is it pulling that, or is that kind of what the tech is?
This is not shape and color recognition. This is a spectrometer. So it shoots a laser and looks for the backscatter from the laser. It's not a pitch receive. It's backscatter that can tell you what sort of chemicals are in there. Because, we can identify when you shoot nitrogen, it gives you this particular backscatter. Now, I'm not an expert on spectrometry, but, so
backscatter like the width of something, or like the viscosity between something? Like, is it
spectrometers actually respond to a chemical signature. Typically, the ones in the labs, I believe that they actually burn it at high temperatures, but it's actually looking for identifiable chemicals that it knows what the signature is. And I'm not familiar with exactly the internal workings of this one. I will say that.
You were the one who brought it up.
I am. I try to stay up on all 435 technologies.
Right. I'm going to do a little better. No, I'm just kidding.
Would that be something, a use case like the Mars rover? Would that use a spectrometer to analyze the components of what's on Mars?
It has a different unit on it that it actually takes a sample internally and analyzes it, more like a lab spectrometer, not so much handheld.
Gotcha.
Okay, so let's go back into the use case of this as a business. So I think that I can get this to market. I have interest in it. I send you guys a business plan, then you guys review and you guys accept it. Like, what are the next steps if I say, yep, I'm the right fit for that? I love having spectrometers all around and looking through all that. Like, what are the next steps and something like that?
Well, you kind of skipped over some steps. So let me take us back to the beginning. So you look at it, you identify it. You probably would click the more info and someone would reach out to you and then say, hey, I really still don't understand exactly if it's what I need. We might be able to find the inventor. Some of our inventors are no longer with us. So, if we have an inventor we can tap into and his management agrees he can go back to what he was working on 4 to 20 years ago, then we can get a conversation like that. We can show you papers written on it, get those to you, all the publicly available information. We can sign an NDA. You can come out to the center, go to the lab if we still have it set up. A lot of times the labs have been changed for the new experiment and it's not there, but probably too deep in the weeds. Then once you've satisfied yourself that this is what you need and you want to license it, you would go in through the same website, apply now link on each one of these technology pages, and it takes you to the Atlas online application system where you get an account, and then you pick what kind of license you think you want. There's 3 basic types. There's an evaluation license that says, hey, I want to just try it on the bench, and we have 3 levels there based on what your needs are. It could be $2,500 for a year, or $500 for 6 months, or a no cost, depending on if we can justify that. And that entitles you to practice the invention, but not sell products or services based on it. The next level is the fits-all license, which is the commercial license, where we have a long list of terms where we can negotiate each one of those to suit your needs. And then there's a startup license, which is a special license. If you're a small company, less than 2 years old and US based, you can get pre-negotiated terms for a license where there's no cost to you for 3 years. After that, 4.2% or 3,000 royalty minimums on the out years for the life of the patent. We always strive for non-exclusive licenses, and we'll give you a specific field for your license in addition to that, so that we can hopefully broaden the use of each of the patents. We're not into necessarily giving right off the bat exclusivity in all fields, because our marching orders are to make it available to everyone that needs it.
And the stuff that you're doing, it's not, you're broadcasting this across the United States. It's not just Hampton Roads.
Mm-hmm.
Hampton,
we can also license to foreign entities if they substantially manufacture or practice it in the United States. As you know, a U.S. patent is good until the borders of the U.S., and then you're not in the U.S. anymore, and the patent is not in effect. We typically don't get foreign licenses, but if you catch it soon enough, you could pursue your own.
I mean, it's just, to me, it's just such a valuable resource, especially if you live in the Hampton Roads region, so that if you did want to take a trip to Langley Research Center to talk to the inventor or go to the lab space, I mean, it's just, wow, what an incredible opportunity. Do you all track data in terms of where the most popular locations are where people utilize text transfer? Or
yeah, so there are 10 centers where you're equally lucky if you're close to one, if you want to travel to it. Of course, COVID has changed our ability to host site visits, but if you go to the technology.nasa.gov website, there is a link to metrics there, and there's also a link to NASA spinoffs. So the metrics show how we're doing with licenses and things like that are laying the groundwork for successes. And then spinoffs talks about the actual successes. So we write an article in conjunction with the licensee or the user of the NASA technology, and just to let everybody know what good has happened from the tech transfer activity. Does that answer your question in completeness?
if I remember right, is there also some sort of program that's in place where the inventor can be released for a short period of time, take a leave of absence from NASA to work with that business? Is that, can you talk a little bit about that?
I don't know if I know that it's not part of the tech transfer program per se. Inventors and anyone at NASA can request a leave of absence to do that sort of thing. I'm not up on all the particulars. As far as leaving to go work on the technology, that causes problems because, or could potentially, we have to be careful that we're not seen as giving someone an unfair amount of help. We have to be very circumspect in what we do. If I have worked on if I was the NASA guy on a contract, I can't quit NASA and go right to work for that contract. So there's a lot of ethical concerns around that. And and it shouldn't be necessary for that to happen. We should be able to get the company support through what we call a Space Act agreement, which allows, let's say you need the inventor's time. If the inventor and his management agree that they can spare him from his current work to work and support a licensee, we can either do a exchange of, it benefits NASA and it benefits the company, so we can do that. We can do it at no cost. Or if it's simply costing NASA money funding to do this, we can have the company fund the inventor's activities to support them through a Space Act agreement. Space Act agreements are like a CRADA, which the rest of the government uses, but Space Act agreements, because NASA is special and has a lot of strange things that we do that other entities don't in the government, we have some extra flexibilities in the Space Act agreement that allow us to get our work done. And we typically will go to a Space Act agreement as the mechanism to support and outside activities.
You talked about